All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. And I want to say double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And blessings to the hopeful elect out there listening and learning and also teaching this word in sincerity and truth. And a sincere hope so we may edify and feed the lambs of Yahweh Shai, especially in these last days. I'll do a video responding to this Venezuela earthquake that leaves a trail of destruction, as the title says, as up to 100,000 fared dead. Now, I don't know if that number's hit anywhere near that number, or whether they're just misreporting or underreporting the numbers that are dead. But they're saying up to 100,000 are fared dead. And and you see, this is why the scriptures tell you that, in Isaiah 33:6, that wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Because that's a good scripture to start off with. Let me go ahead and read you this verse. It's Colossians chapter 3, verse 1, right? It says, if you then be risen with Yahweh Shai, right, or Hamashiach, the anointed, seek those things which are above, where Yahweh Shai sitteth on the right hand of the power of Yahweh. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. All right. So we're in the fashion of setting our affection on the things above. Anything that we have, like the scripture says, be pilgrims upon the earth. There's though he possesses, though he possesses not. Loosely paraphrasing, we're not in a time of peace and safety. We're not in a time of peace, period. We're in a time of calamities. We're in a time of Jacob's trouble. We're in a time of civil war, civil unrest. We're in a time of wars, rumors of wars. We're in a time of uproars of the people. We're in a time of biblical prophecy prophesied by Yahweh Shai in Matthew 24:6. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, but all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And we're seeing, these wars and rumors of wars pop off. With Russia, Ukraine, Iran, America, Israel. We're seeing these things in these last days. The Lord told us what to look out for. That's why I was quoting Isaiah 33:6 earlier. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability at our times. This is keeping us stable, knowing that everything that's going down is going according to plan, according to biblical prophecy. It's going to plan according to biblical prophecy, and that's of a great comfort to us to know. It says, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Earthquakes. Let's read that part in the NLT. It says, nation will go to war against nation. And we're seeing that over there in the so-called Middle East right now. We're seeing that with Russia, Ukraine. And kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. All right, and this is a part of the world where they are fearing now that the death toll is up to 100,000 dead. Okay, this is a part of the world where an earthquake is struck. And they said that 2 of these earthquakes were very powerful, over a 7-point magnitude. Two of them struck within the space of a minute. And that's how quickly things can happen out here, within the space of a minute, man.
First in this developing news from Caracas, we have live pictures coming into us.
Fair use. I'm not making any money from this video. Fair use. This is from Sky News, and I just read the title earlier. Okay, 7.5 magnitude earthquake in Caracas.
See here, rescue crews, they are working through the night. They're trying to find survivors.
That's a terrifying way, for you to go out, because what you got to understand is that, in a time like this, where all hell breaks loose out of nowhere, no one really knows what to do. People running around like headless chickens, not knowing where to go, not knowing who to ask for help. Family members missing, buried under rubble, suffocating to death, crushed to death. You might have children under there. You know, your favorite dog under there. You know, your favorite cousin, auntie, whatever is under that rubble, and you can't get to them, and they're slowly dying, being crushed, losing oxygen. I mean, this is the king of terrors you're dealing with. And this is a way to go out that, you know, is not a very joyful way for you to go out at all. Or, you know, or should I say, not an easy way for you to go to transition to the spirit world. Because it's a slow death, you know. You can see your end coming and there's nothing you can do. You can't move. It's terrifying. You know, you got people walking around making plans, but they don't seem to consider that the Most High don't care about your plans. Right? It's 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. Sudden destruction, man. Listen.
Rescue crews, they are working through the night. They're trying to find survivors after those 2 successive earthquakes devastated Venezuela's capital.
2 successive. So you might feel the first one, oh shit. You know, that's where I used to eat lunch at. You know, that's pretty much flatlined. You know, you're thinking the damage is done. Oh shit, that's where I used to go to school. Yeah, that building's crumbled. And then, you know, a minute later, another earthquake hits. You thought you was out of the woods, but then another earthquake hits and you just, man, then all of a sudden, you know, a close family member of yours is dead, you know, or it's just, you know, we can't take this for granted, man. This is why, you know, we have to really, really fear Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, man. You know, because the Lord can spring this on any city at any time. Now, I was just seeing, what was it, Redacted? And it was saying that, was it Redacted? Let me see if I can pull up the notification. Bear with me. Yeah. So this is Redacted. You know, I just had to pause it because I had to, you know, locate the actual video just to make sure that it was on point. A massive earthquake is coming to California and no one is ready for it. And they've been saying this for years. You know, California, a huge fault line, and, you know, pretty much there's been due a massive earthquake. So when that stuff like this, there's even movies on it. I think didn't Dwayne Johnson, he played in a movie, you know, dealing with earthquakes in California. Let me see if I can find that as well. Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne. Earthquake movie. Let me see. Yeah, San Andreas. Right? And this came out years ago, 2015, San Andreas. And I ain't seen this yet. It says, following a massive earthquake, Ray, a rescue chopper pilot, and his estranged wife tried to find and save their daughter before another disaster strikes. Alright, San Francisco. Right, devastates the west. Massive earthquake devastates the west coast. So they be putting this in these movies. Now, whether they're man-made earthquakes or whether they're natural disasters, so to speak, regardless, if the Lord uses Esau on the left-hand side to use his technology to strike an earthquake, then so be it. Because we know that they need to bring that chaos. We know that they need the chaos to bring forth order. They need a black swan event, basically. All right, and they can do this in many different ways, through cyber attacks, blackouts, false flag events, people shooting up schools, shooting up stadiums, or whatever, blowing up stadiums, whatever. You know, they can do it in any way, shape, or form. And they're going to do something. They're going to do something. So I was right. You know, this is from Natalie and Clayton from Redacted. A massive earthquake is coming to California and no one's ready for it. So what's with the talk about these earthquakes, and what's with all these earthquakes, period? Right? When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. You know? So, you know, things are definitely popping off. Let's get another one. Let's get the Apocrypha. 2nd Ezra 9. And 3. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, and we're seeing that. earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world in these last days. Then shall thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So the Most High ain't playing. Alright, he's known as the King of Terrors, and the scriptures tell you it's a fearful thing. Let's get that scripture. Is it Hebrews 10, is it? Or is it 11? And, Hebrews 10 and 31, right? It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. Because the Lord is a King of Terrors, man. You know, he's a King of Terrors. So let's go back to that clip from Sky News Australia. So here we are. This is like, I just have to pause it to get rid of the adverts. But we're back here. This is the original clip that I was going to go into from, you know, what's happening over there in Venezuela. You know, and then pretty much them tribes, they've been catching hell in Venezuela, man. They had famine, and now they got this earthquake going on. And the Lord's, you know, bringing heavy judgment upon them. You know, and that much is fact, because we're seeing it happen. You know, the Lord ain't caring about people's tears streaming down their face, the cries, the creams, you know, the screams. The Lord don't give a damn about that, man. All right. Fearful thing to fall into the hand of the living power. We just read it.
5 and 7.2 magnitude earthquakes, and they happened within the space of a minute. They rocked the city in scenes that residents say was reminiscent of a horror movie. Venezuela has activated an
reminiscent of a horror movie. When you watch some of these horror movies, like I used to watch these horror movies back in the day, and you constantly on the edge. You don't know what's going to happen in the next scene, and something jumps out and someone just gets taken out. And you know, these horror movies are crazy, man. All right, but if they're describing this like a horror movie, you know, the people over there, they ain't having a good time. Because out of nowhere, what happened to them? Everything just changed. Like, could you imagine, you know, when the missiles hit, you know, Babylon the Great, which is America, the scripture says that the whole earth is going to reel to and fro like a drunkard. The whole earth, not just one, you know, one city or one part of the world. It's going to be the whole world shaking at one time. This is why, you know, we fear Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because the Lord is so angry that he's going to shake the whole earth. You know, like, this is deadly serious. He's going to shake the whole earth.
See declaration shutting schools and hospitals. Authorities have
with these types of events, you know, things that are considered normality and, you know, business as usual. These things shut down in an instant. See, the Lord can change your whole world. 1 minute, you know, you're taking your daughter to school. Next minute, you ain't got no daughter no more. You know, she got taken out in an earthquake. You know, and that's just an example. You know, people are living these, you know, people are living the, you know, this is their reality now, a new reality for them, you know. You just have to tell it like it is. It's a new reality for some people out there.
Just provided an update. They've put the death toll at 37 for the time being. There are fears, though, that number could climb into the tens of thousands.
There are fears that it could climb to the tens of thousands. And, you know, the last time we saw numbers like that was when it happened with Turkey and parts of Syria. I think 50,000 people, around that number, was taken out in an instant. So the Lord, it's nothing for the Lord to take out thousands and thousands of people at one time. You know? And people don't see, and the Most High don't need to catch you on a dark night in an alleyway and, you know, and you know, blow a hole in your head. You don't need to do that. He can do it in a different way. The Lord can take out thousands at one time. Extinction level events, they call them, you know. Hurricanes, earthquakes, floods. The Lord can do it all at one time. You know, and the scriptures tell you that from the issues of death belong to the Lord. You know, Deuteronomy, I'll say 32 and 39. See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So it's the Lord, he said, out of his hand. No one can deliver out of his hand. If he decides that he's going to kill you, or he's going to heal you, or he's going to wound you, that's down to the Lord, man. That's down to the King of Terrors. That's down to the power that we serve and fear, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. There is no God with him. He kills and he makes alive. He wounds and he heals. And there's none that can deliver out of his hand, man. So that's terrifying. Put you in a situation that you never even dreamed of, man. You never even thought was possible to go out the way that you're going out. In that present moment in time, you just lying there, just blinking. You know, you got a slab of, rock on your chest. You can hardly breathe, and you just thinking about everything in your life. And the only thing you can think about is what's going on at that moment in time. Just like, when 9/11 happened and people were caught up on them upper floors and the fire was rising in the towers. And some people were so plagued in the mind they had to jump out of the window. And they'd rather fall to their death than to burn to death. Now imagine being in a situation where you had to choose which way to go out, because you know that inevitably you're getting taken out. And there were some people that jumped out of the windows and half of their spirit was still in their body, but half their body was only left on the floor. There's documentaries on it, and it was still blinking, talking. I'm okay, I'm okay. People were putting deceased stickers on bodies. I remember the documentary talking about that. They showed a documentary on it, and people, some people's job was to go around and put dead bodies on the victims of 9/11. And there was one story where there was a body that was half severed or crushed or whatever, and the spirit was still in the half of the body. And then was still talking, still cognizant, am I okay? Am I okay? And the guy had to lie to the individual and say, yeah, you're okay. Didn't put a sticker on him saying deceased. But, pretty much, you could tell what happened next to that individual. All right, and I'm going to get another scripture here. This is Isaiah 45:7. It says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, Yahweh, do all these things. So when, evil means a bad time, and, there's been a bad time over there in Caracas. Thousands are feared dead, so hey, the King of Terrors ain't playing no games.
Into the tens of thousands.
A frantic search for survivors in Venezuela's capital. Rescuers scrambling through rubble where buildings once stood. As darkness blankets Caracas, families gather in the streets, desperate and
it's terrifying, man. I'm saying the guys just sitting outside of a store, just looking like their life has flashed before their eyes. They got nothing left. Getting checked on. Are you okay, sir? Are you okay? You're not even cognizant of who's speaking. He might have lost his family, might have lost his wife. Could have just proposed to her, could have just got married to her, could have just had a baby. That baby's now gone. You don't know. People have lives. They're living in these places. And when earthquakes like this of a 7.5 magnitude or 7+ magnitude hits, two of them hit within the space of a minute, man, that's some devastating, that's catastrophic. And if you're in a place where the Most High wants you at that time for your demise, that's where you're going to be. Or you might survive, but the people that you love and care for, they're taken away, so we can't take things for granted. This is the point. We have to understand what the will of the Lord is. We're in a heavy time, man. Earthquakes, the point is, earthquakes and uproars of the people are a sign of the Lord's return. That's the point. That's the point, We're in a time Yahweh Shai prophesied about earthquakes in diverse places. We're in that time, all right? So, pretty much I'm going to close this lesson out. From the Lord belong the issues of death. He forms the light and creates darkness. He makes peace and creates evil. He does all these things. We just read that. So don't take it for granted. Don't take the life that you have for granted, man. I think people wake up and they go about their daily routines, but they don't seem to understand that there's a power that we serve and fear that's about to shake the whole earth, let alone a city. Shalom.